It's not much, but it's what we've got. Come back anytime.
The XO are among the greatest mysteries. They are well encrypted even to themselves. Well, Titan, let's see what we have here.
Substitute for a full magazine. Could not positive that's good at weapons and armor can only do so much. Trust your
Guardian. Yes. Received. Acknowledged. Good luck. Please, Guardian. It's busy. Switch the routes. the roots.
Don't know where my uncle finds these things. Clean up dust, reorganize my inventory. It's not home yet, but it will be.
Iron Banner. Like the battles of old. Go! Opponent claimed Zone C. You captured Zone A. You're pulling ahead. Zone B captured. Zone advantage is yours. Zone A lost. Opponent took the lead. Zone C captured. You have the advantage. Press on. You're pulling ahead. Zone C lost. You've lost the lead. Zone C captured. 2 zones are yours. Zone B lost. Zone C lost. The hunt is on. This is your end. Fight well. A greater lead for your opponents. You must do something to catch them. The flames have gone cold. Zone A captured. Opponent claimed Zone B. Opponent claimed Zone C. Zone C captured. You have the advantage. Press on. Zone A lost. Zone B captured. Zone advantage is yours. Zone C lost. 5 minutes remain. Cut their momentum. Keep pushing. Zone C captured. Zone advantage is yours. Zone C lost. Zone B lost. The howl of the wolf is not the end. Be vigilant. Left. The hunt has ended. You captured Zone A. Opponent claimed Zone B. Zone C captured. You have the advantage. Press on. Zone A lost. You captured Zone A. Zone advantage is yours. Zone A lost. You've lost today, Guardian. Iron Banner. Like the battles of old. Go! Opponent claimed Zone A. You captured Zone C. Opponent claimed Zone B. Zone C lost. Now you are the hunted. opponent's lead has grown. The howls are quiet. Return to the fight. You captured Zone C. Opponent claimed Zone A. Opponent claimed Zone B. Zone C lost. You're being hunted. Don't let your guard down. Let the wolves rest. The hunt is over. Opponent claimed Zone B. Opponent claimed Zone A. You captured Zone C. Zone C lost. The wolf's howl may be the last thing you hear. I'm calling it. You will endure.
I hesitate to say too much, but I believe the thing in my closet is some sort of idea of what I speak. My story starts back when I was in my childhood. One night, I was sleeping when I woke the sound of a voice. At least, I thought it was my father calling me anyway. When I woke up, I looked towards my closet to see someone with yellow eyes staring back at me. I was naturally too afraid to move. Spent most of the night just staring silently into the closet. I was afraid if I so much as whispered, whatever was in the closet would kill me. The longer I stared at the yellow-eyed being, the brighter the yellow in the eyes got. This ended with him speaking my name in a very deep, male voice. A few seconds went by, and he spoke again. However, this time he didn't just speak my name. He asked me to come to him. Needless to say, I didn't move a muscle. It was when he finally told me he had something to show me that I screamed my head off till my dad came to my room. My dad did the typical father thing at this point and checked the closet for me. "Nothing is there. Go back to sleep," he said before leaving the room. I, however, did not go back to sleep. I was too afraid to sleep. There was someone or something in my closet, and it kept speaking to me. How in the hell is a kid supposed to sleep with that going on? As the years went by, I sat, afraid, every night of this thing in my closet. We eventually moved and I thought I'd finally be able to sleep properly again. Fortunately, no matter where we went, or how many times we moved, it was always there. He'd always say the same things. He constantly tried to lure me to my closet. Eventually, I moved out of my parents' home and into my husband's place. Once again, I believed I'd be okay. Yet again, he was there. He was always there. In the closet, trying to lure me in again.
Iron
My husband
Banner.
tried to get whatever this guy was to leave, but he just wouldn't leave. I now have children of my own, and they've complained of seeing a man in their closet.
Will find their
The
mark.
night they first mentioned
Unleash
him,
them.
I grabbed them and ran out of the room, at which point the thing in the closet came out. I never saw its face, but I could say it was tall,
Opponent
completely
claims
dressed in
Zone
black.
C. You captured Zone
That was the
A.
last time I saw him. He's grown quiet, but I could still feel his gaze every night. What does he want? I'm not sure. I
Opponent
don't
claims
plan on
Zone
ever
B.
finding out. It was just before Mother's Day in 2005, where my story takes place.
Press on.
There was my wife, 3 sons, and I, and we had just gotten some great news about a place we were wanting to rent. The place was in Scotchman's Hill in Calgary, Alberta. It was 3 bedrooms and had 3 levels. There was the upstairs, the ground floor, and the
Opponent
basement.
took the lead.
We moved in and been living there roughly for about 3 or 4 months. And we were
Zone A
relaxing on a
captured.
very quiet and
Zone
chill
advantage
night.
is yours.
It was my first night off in a while. I worked the night shift, and it was about 2 in the morning when I was flipping through channels and stumbled upon Showcase.
2 down.
This is a movie channel that sometimes has nudity, and at the time, everyone was sleeping except me. I was just about to get comfortable when I get this feeling that I'm being watched. I could sense something there, so I just laid for a bit, watching TV, waiting. This is when, out of the corner of my eye, I see a dark figure. My heart skipped a beat, thinking it might have been one of the kids, and didn't want them scarred for life seeing their old man like this. Acting natural,
Zone A
I
captured.
sit up slowly.
Zone advantage
That's
is
when I
yours.
noticed a boy, by the stairs, and I'm thinking, which one of my sons is it? I position myself to launch off the couch and catch them if they're up sneaking around. Just as I get off the couch, I am frozen in place at what I see. There is a boy there, but it's not any of my sons. There's a pale
Zone A
boy with
lost.
dark hair just staring at me. I sprint after him. He rushes up the stairs, at which point I rush up the stairs as well, hitting the light as I do, only to find when I round the corner,
Zone
the boy
C
is simply
lost.
vanished.
The flames are lit, and
No
you
doors
are
open.
prey.
Nothing. He simply vanished. I decided to check in on my sons, in case I was just seeing things and they really were sneaking around. But every room I went into, they were sound asleep. No heavy breathing, which they would have been doing if they were running. They were in a clear and
Small
deep sleep.
lead has become something more. Don't let
Nothing
it
happened for
continue.
the remainder of the night other than me sitting on the couch,
Return
in a
to the
stupor,
fight.
trying to process what I had just witnessed. Eventually, I crashed, and when I got up in the morning, the boys and I had breakfast before leaving to the rink to play some hockey. This was the end of my encounter until we moved. Shortly after moving into a 4-bedroom place, my wife and I were talking to one another about our old place.
Opponent
The
claims
incident
Zone
I
C.
had was eventually brought up, and when my wife heard it, her jaw hit the floor in shock. Confused, I asked her why she was so shocked. The wife then informed me that when I took the boy for hockey, she was home alone doing laundry. She heard someone walking around the upstairs and assumed it was one of the kids that had come home.
Yours.
Looking over, she noticed a boy peeking from the basement at her. She didn't have a good view, so she thought once again it was one of our kids. She called out 3 times, but no one answered. Annoyed by being ignored, she headed upstairs. That's when she saw the same boy. He simply just vanished before her as well. We never spoke of the boy to one another again, though.
Zone B lost. That's 2.
I went on a camping trip with my 2 kids at a public campground over the summer. Unfortunately, my husband was unable to be with us due to work. The first night we were swimming in the pool, because it was so hot, was around 100 degrees and the tent was unbearable.
I'd like to
After
test
some
my
time,
might
though,
against another
3
type of
older
review.
couples came into the pool, and I thought it was best for us to move on. Later that evening, one of my kids and I were at a table in our campsite when I spot one of the men from the pool walking towards us. He asked me what part of the state we were from. I figured he had read my license plate. I told him we're from the east side. He then comments that he had worked there before. Didn't feel off about him, but I am cautious in giving short answers in hopes he realized I didn't want to talk anymore. I am camping alone with kids after all. I asked if he is a camper. He says he lives here and works here.
5 minutes.
Many of the slots are permanent renters. The next morning I am cooking breakfast in this little 3-sided kitchen for the 10 campers with my youngest 6-year-old child. The 4th side was a waist-high flower box with only a 3-foot entrance into the kitchen. This man approaches me again. Because of the kitchen setup, I feel trapped. I do not want to interact with this man, and I am not okay with this setup. Here is our conversation. Good morning. Hey, good morning. It's not normal for a woman and her kids to be left alone in a camp. Well, another kid had an activity and they were unavailable. Divide and conquer, I guess. Yeah, I understand that. And besides, I'm a better shot than my husband. Okay. Have a good day. I nod as he walks away,
Zone A
and didn't
lost.
see him after
The
that,
howl of the
thankfully.
wolf is not the end. Be vigilant.
I was visiting my cousins in their cabin in Idaho. And at the time I was 14 and the cabin in question sat on the outskirts of the town near a river in the
Let
woods.
the wolves rest.
The cousins, whose cabin I was staying at, I won't use their real names, were Josh, who was 16, Anthony, who was 14, and Riley, who was 11.
Opponent claims zone
The
C.
first day there, we spent hanging out at local shops and just chilling at the YMCA center in
They
town.
got the better of you.
The second day, however, was far different, and when the trip took a very unexpected change. We spent much of the morning at the cabin, but at 3, we decided to make it uphill and hike. We packed up and headed out by 3:30. Myself, Anthony, and Riley carried pocket knives while Josh carried a 9mm handgun. You have to understand, bears and wolves were pretty common in the area. We walked down a dirt road in front of the house, across a bridge that took us across the river before proceeding down the road till we were directly on the other side of the river from the cabin. We wanted to be sure it was an easy trip back and we didn't want to get lost. Using roots down an embankment, we soon scaled a 15-foot hill before heading into the forest. It usually takes about 2 hours to reach the summit of our destination, as there aren't any trails in the forest itself. It was probably in half and intestines were thrown all over. Its head was missing. It was then we looked up that we spotted the missing head hanging from a tree branch. The aforementioned intestines were also hanging off the tree. They were spread like Christmas lights. This was the moment we knew we probably should have left the forest, but having come so far, we decided not to speak on what we witnessed and continued our ascent of the hill that we originally set out to climb. We were eating some snacks a little later that day when I noticed a set of eyes and watching us in the distance. The eyes looked to be about 7 feet off the ground, and they glowed this weird kind of red. I was just about to point them out when they vanished. Being as I still remembered the deer, I was even more paranoid about being out here than I was before. As time went on, we finished our climb and began the walk back. At this point it was nighttime, so we pulled our flashlights out to see. It was about halfway back to the cabin when we heard a light to the left of us. The whole way had been silent to this point. No animal sounds or anything. So, this made us all jump. Turning our flashlights in the direction of the sound we witnessed, a sight I will never forget. There was a figure that was emaciated. It stood about 7 feet tall and had glowing red eyes. It was the figure from earlier, but now I could clearly see it in its terrifying entirety. Gazing at its razor-sharp teeth, I noticed they had fresh blood on them. This was when the thing let out a horrifying scream that sounded like a mix between a bear and a panther. Josh pulled out his pistol and fired off 2 shots, hitting this monstrosity in the shoulder as well as his leg. This made the creature scream and rush off into the trees. We all turned and sprinted down the hill, at which point the thing regained its senses and started coming after us again, sprinting so fast it was gaining on us, even with a wounded leg. The thing only stopped when we broke the tree line and jumped into the freezing river, soon swimming across. When we finally got across and looked back, the creature was staring at us from the tree line, a malicious look on its face. We ran inside, terrified soon after. I don't know about any of my other friends, but I'll never go back to that forest. I'm getting ready to move from this small town as well. I don't want to live in a place like that, with so few neighbors and so few residents here. There's a good chance I'll run into it again. I'm a female in my late 20s, and I live in a small town in the mountains of Virginia. Things here are very quiet and people are extra friendly. I wouldn't have expected something like this to happen here. My house is old but quite updated. There's just one thing that's always sort of bothered me. There's a large window inside the shower. I did buy some frosted vinyl stick-on stuff that makes it to where you can't see through it. But being naked and vulnerable with a large window right next to you, it just never sits well with me. Due to this, I try to shower during the day. Well, one cold, snowy day in December, I took a long nap after dinner and woke up around 10 o'clock at night. I needed a shower, and to do this, I had to do it during the night. To be honest, I wasn't even thinking of the window at the time because I was so out of it. I ran the water and stepped in. As I was washing, I could feel the cold from the window, which reminded me of its presence, and I began to feel uneasy. Like I said, I rarely showered at night. Well, as I'm rinsing my hair, I suddenly hear 3 long, strong knocks. Bam, bam, bam. My God, I was so startled. My heart jumped and I opened my eyes. Just froze. Did that really just happen? I told myself I was crazy. Then, it did it again. Bam, bam, bam. Someone, or something, was knocking on my window. I reached out for my towel, ran into my bedroom and locked the door. I called my sister who lived on the other side of town. Her and her boyfriend came over as quickly as they could. Her boyfriend had brought his shotgun with him, and a headlamp as he walked around the perimeter of the house yelling out, "I have a loaded gun. Anybody there?" He didn't see anybody, but like I said, there was snow on the ground, and there were footprints leading away from my driveway all around the house to my bathroom window. They didn't go anywhere else, so whatever it was must have retraced their footsteps and back around. I never found out who it was or what it was. I nailed the window shut since I only shower during the day now. Small towns don't always mean safe towns. I learned that the hard way. I grew up in one of those tiny towns around Texas Hill Country in Bandera County. As a kid back in the late 70s, I used to play with a neighbor lady's grandson, who would come down every summer from Baltimore, Maryland, to stay with her for 2 weeks. He was a real big city boy. Everybody pretty much has a rural resident area where all residents connect quickly with the woods. One afternoon, I went to visit the neighbor boy who was there visiting. He was a bit spoiled and was allowed to stay up till 4 or 5 a.m. every night, watching TV, and then sleep till early afternoon the next day. But this day, he was freaked out because he told me that the night before at around 3 a.m., he had happened to look out his window and saw a huge man thing walk very briskly down another neighbor's long gravel driveway and disappear into the darkness and woods behind their house. This neighbor had a streetlight on their carport that lit the whole area at night where he saw the thing. His view was unobstructed and about 75 yards away. He said the thing covered 50 or 60 yards within a few seconds. When I first began to believe him was when we were dirt biking a day or two later down a long, desolate county road, unpaved on my dirt bike. He kept asking me, he was on the back of my dirt bike, when we were going to turn around. We got to the end of the road, and I killed the bike and pretended it wouldn't start. This poor kid was screaming at the brush and scanning it like he was scared to death. Something would come out and get us. He was panicking and crying and saying that we had to get out of there because we have these things roaming around. Seeing him so freaked out got me a little freaked out too, and we left. We were both about 11 or 12 at the time. I now live in San Antonio. Last winter, our 10 o'clock news had a brief blurb about two men witnessing either one or two Sasquatch chasing deer off Highway 51, which is a little connector road that runs between the northwest outskirts of town. This subject is fascinating. I learned after reading a lot of stories that they don't just dwell in tall forests. There are a lot of sightings in Low Brush County. I wish I had a lot more info about the deer chasing incident. When I was 19, my boyfriend at the time lived just 3 blocks away from me. I was on 69th and he lived on 66. He would usually drive to my house to pick me up once I got home from work around 9:30 p.m. But this particular night, I insisted that I walk. It took some convincing. I have Mace, it's just 3 blocks, it's summer and there's still people out, blah blah blah. But he finally agreed. My mom would always tell me if I'm walking alone at night to walk in the street, so that's what I did. I had my pepper spray in my hand, ready to be sprayed, and my keys between my fingers, ready to gouge an eye out if need be. All is fine. I get to the 66th Street, and I put on my cell phone to call my friend. He doesn't answer. No big deal. I turn down the street that his house is on and instantly get a bad vibe. Yes, it's late, but as I mentioned before, it's summer and people are usually out. His street was eerily quiet and desolate. Then I notice an older man walking on the same side of the street as me, in my direction. I don't know what it was about, but my heart started pounding when I saw him. We were both about the same distance from my boyfriend's house, so I quickened my step to make it there first. He's in front of the neighbor's house when I run up to my boyfriend's steps, and I can hear him mumbling strange things. He was talking to someone about the pretty girl they just saw and how she would be a good one. I wanted to piss my pants. I am banging on my boyfriend's door and ringing the doorbell non-stop, and nobody is answering. I'm calling his cell phone back to back, but still no answer. The man walks by the house and I can see him stop, right before the next house. He starts walking backwards until he gets to the front step of my boyfriend's house and stops to look at me. I try not to look scared like a little girl, and I calmly say, "Can I help you, sir?" I shit not. He gave me the creepiest smile and slowly started up the stairs towards me, all the while mumbling things that I couldn't understand. The layout of the front house is 4 steps, a landing that leads onto the patio, and 5 more steps to the landing to the front door. I say, "Don't make me mace you, old man." I laugh thinking about it now, but nope, that didn't stop him. He kept that creepy smile and mumbling, and he's on the first landing now. I'm holding my mace, watching him and almost kicking my boyfriend's door in when, by chance, I try the knob and thank whoever is watching over me that it was unlocked. I rushed in and locked the door. I could have run to my boyfriend's room and he's coming down the stairs saying he fell asleep. Meanwhile, I'm going ballistic about this creepy old man and how neglectful it was for him to leave me outside at this hour. I know, I insisted. Not to mention he was upstairs asleep with the front door unlocked. At night. Anyway, he goes outside and the old man is nowhere to be found. was a pretty brave person when I was younger, or maybe I had that sense of invincibility that comes with youth. I survived some things. A stalker who pursued my sister and I for over a year and a half, being sexually assaulted, 2 house fires, and growing up in a house that I swear was haunted. Not in that Disney way either. I'm talking about torture chamber in the basement and strange things going on. Anyway, I suppose, looking back, that having been through all of that made me a little like either I was sort of invincible or maybe I just assumed that I had gotten all the bad stuff out of the way and nothing else would happen. Whatever it was, I learned to know better. When I was 17, I didn't have a driver's license. In fact, I was 36 before I did. I walked most places, and occasionally catching rides with friends, and less occasionally, hitchhiking. The night in question was one of those seldom seen occasions where I decided to hitchhike. Having worked late and being too exhausted to walk, now, most of the time when I hitch a ride, I wouldn't get a car with a lone man. Only a woman or rarely men with a wife or girlfriend and or kids in the car. This night, though, cars were few and far between and it was cold. And really, if I'm being perfectly frank, when he pulled over, I took a good look at him and figured I could take him if he tried anything. He was on the slender side and had a strange frailness about him, and even though he looked healthy enough. I got into the car after we agreed on a destination. We exchanged names and I warmed my fingers in front of the heat vent. He spoke quietly, asking a few questions along the lines of what I was doing and how long I lived here. He said he'd only been here a couple of months, but found it beautiful and hoped he could find happiness there. That comment struck me as a little odd, but I brushed it off. It began to snow and the road quickly became slippery, so he slowed and kept his eyes straight out the windshield, driving silently. I was okay with that, as small talk was never my forte. About 10 minutes later, I noticed a car near the intersection where we were approaching. It seemed to be sliding, so I said, "Watch out." He immediately hit the gas, shooting through the intersection and burst with it. "Don't ever scream at me." Needless to say, I was taken back. I said, "Look, this is close enough, just pull over and I'll get out here." He didn't seem to hear me. Richard, did you hear me? I said you can pull over and let me out." No response. He was just staring straight ahead, driving faster now than he had been since it began to snow. To say I was scared was something that couldn't cover the depth of fear that began to arise in me. I didn't know if I should stay quiet or speak, but I was damn sure not going to yell out after his outburst. After about a mile, he began to mumble under his breath. I couldn't quite make out what he was saying, but I assumed he was speaking to me, so I said, I couldn't hear you." He began to speak quietly and rapidly, saying things like, "You're always yelling at me. I told you that time and time again. I don't appreciate being yelled at. What do you do? Do you even listen? No. I'm done listening to you. Do you hear that?" I was at a complete loss. I didn't know what to say in response or if I should say anything at all. I contemplated just jumping out of the car, but nixed that idea when I realized the door was locked. There was just a silver-lined hole where the lock should have been. I started to cry and debate with myself about causing an accident by grabbing the wheel and hoping for the best. At least I figured there was a chance that I'd survive that. When he suddenly looked at me for the first time since I'd gotten in the car, he blinked several times, rapidly, and then slowed the car, pulling into a gas station. I waited to see if he unlocked the doors, not waiting to say anything to set him off again. After a minute or two, he quietly said, "I think I better let you out here," and he hit the button to open the locks. I wasn't about to hesitate. I jumped out of the car as if it were on fire. I was about to turn and walk to the gas station when he called my name. He looked at me, damn sad, and I hesitated. He apologized and said he was sorry if he frightened me, that he never would have harmed me, and he asked if I would be able to get home okay. I said I would and closed the door. He began to pull out of the gas station lot, but stopped suddenly. He just sat there for a couple of moments, his head down. I froze, wondering what the hell he was up to, and was about to run to the station. But he opened his window and yelled at me, waving something in his hand. My hat. I left it on his seat. I waited approached the side of his car and handed it to me, apologizing again. I didn't know what else to say. I just said thanks. I watched as he drove off, making sure he was out of sight before moving on so he wouldn't know which direction I was heading. I decided to go to a friend's instead of home. As I walked, I went to put my hat back on and out fell a piece of paper folded in was a $100 bill. He said, "I'm sorry, please take a cab and don't hitchhike anymore tonight." I didn't, in fact. It was the last time I ever hitchhiked or rode alone. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed these stories, be sure to hit that like button as it helps me out a ton. If you're new to the swamp, why not subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss a new video, as I upload them almost every single day, and all things natural and supernatural. If you have a scary story from a small town or something different that you'd like to share in a future video, be sure to send it in to swampdweller.net or the email you can find in the description down below. I would love to hear from you. If you haven't yet, be sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all other social medias. You can find those links in the description as well. I would love to talk to you guys over there and keep up with you. See you guys soon with another creepy video. Water and cast out my pole with some stank bait on it. My friend is behind me, standing beside the truck with her sister in the back seat. And for a few minutes, no one is talking, and no music. When I bought this property a couple of years ago, one of the main selling points was the woods. Between the house and the road are rows and rows of red pine, roughly 5 acres and standing maybe 35 to 40 feet tall. Walking through these woods gives off an eerie feeling, but enjoyable still. The ground covered by many thick needles giving off a spring step when trekking through. Behind the home are more of a wild side landscape with many different trees, a creek, and a winding path that's just wide enough for a small utility vehicle. These woods, the kids and I enjoyed most. We have done a few projects such as build a small wooden bridge to get to the other side of the creek. We made a rope swing, and they all have their own battery-operated vehicles to drive the path if they wanted to. One thing we did do last year looking back is we found a huge pile of rocks in the middle of nowhere. The rocks varied in size from a handful to a little over a bowling ball size. Well, we were pulling rocks off that pile as if there was something buried inside. We never found anything other than more rocks. The pile of rocks may be 10 feet long, 8 feet wide, and maybe 3 feet tall. We dug down deep enough to see the rocks that were buried in the ground, so we stopped. I am thinking now that maybe it wasn't such a good idea. In recent past, our family had dealt with something I thought would never happen, and that was a ghost or ghost in our home. The first story written explains the details in that, but this happened in my home. I and my wife talked about this with friends and family, but nobody else after that. I live in a small city. Talking with them, stories of this property began slowly coming out of the woodwork. The following stories below are accounts from what we heard happening in these woods. My wife spoke to her sister and her sister's husband. Her husband recalls 3 stories of the previous owner's experience. 2 of them, he claims he can't remember, but I am taking it as either he's making it up to scare us or he just refuses to tell. The one experience he did say was the man that lived there chose to never take trees from the woods. The main source of heating for the house is a wood stove. He never hunted these woods either. I spoke to a friend of mine, who we will call Bert, about the haunted house incident. Bert has been hunting in the woods behind this property for many years,